Let's quickly have a conversation about custom website versus no-code self-built website. So in today's conversation, I want to do a compare and contrast between those two elements. So here's an overview I want you to pay attention to. So when you think about custom website versus no-code self-built website, you need to understand that the difference really lies down into your own skill set. So my question to you is, do you code? Can you code? Do you have any idea about CSS, HTML, PHP? That's number one. Number two, what kind of ambitions do you have for your websites? What kind of websites are you trying to build, right? Because it's not about just if you're thinking about having a website just for commercial purposes, like an online store, the requirements are totally different from if you are having a website for personal purposes. So the goal that you have for your website really plays an important role. So when we talk about custom website versus no-code self-built website, you need to pay attention to the ambition that you have for the website. That's number one. That's number two. Number three, think about the target audience. So what's the demographics for the people who are going to come to your website? Because the whole thing is, if you are actually selling or you're trying to engage teenagers, the requirements are totally different from if you are trying to engage senior citizens, right? So people who are over 60 or even young adults, the audiences are different. So this plays an important role. So number one, your personal ambition for the websites. Number two, your acumen, so your knowledge of coding, if any. Number three, the demographics of your audience. And number four, most important thing is that, do you want to monetize the website? So when we talk about custom websites, if you're going to monetize the website, you are going to look at a different set of requirements, right? So for instance, if you have an online store, you're not going to really go after certain things because an online store requires certain elements. For example, an SSL certificates. You want to have payment processors, the PayPal, the Stripe of the world. So those are really important elements. So when we talk about that, you need to have a clear idea of what you want. By the way, boss, welcome back to the show. It's really a pleasure to have you here. Make yourself comfortable. We are going to have a wonderful conversation today about custom website versus no-code self-built website. So here's the approach I really want you to pay attention to. So the largest difference will always be financial cost. The thing here is that when you talk about custom website, you are going to pay a lot more than if you are just going through no-code self-built website. Now, let's first understand what we mean here. So when we talk about custom website, that means you are actually reaching out to a webmaster, a web developer. You are basically reaching out to folks who can code. They have to write code, and they have to actually design a website that really suits your specific needs. All the specs that you have, you need to really instruct them as to what you want them to do, right? So that's number one. When we talk about no-code self-built website, we're talking about you going to a website builder and going through a drag and drop feature and actually using the drag and drop builder to build your website. This option doesn't require any code knowledge. You do not have to have a PhD or a master's degree or some kind of training when it comes to coding. You don't need to know CSS, PHP, HTML, or JavaScript. You do not need any of those to actually have a no-code self-built website. You have a lot of players in the market today, from Squarespace to Shopify to Wix to Weebly, that can actually have that for you. So what will happen here is that you see the interface, you just drag and drop all the elements to your website store, and in the background, the code writes itself. So it's a lot cheaper, because even though you have a SaaS model whereby you pay $30 or $40 every month, you are still better off in the long run, because like if you take like you might be spending like 10 grand on a webmaster right now. Do you have the 10 grand? No. So the largest difference will always be financial cost. Website development is actually something that is it can be really granular. It can be time consuming, depending on the kind of a complexity you want to have. So this is really important. So that's the first thing. Largest thing will be financial cost. By the way, boss, I just want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about custom websites versus no-code self-build website. What are the pros and cons, and we just would need to go a little granular to understand what's really happening here. The second thing I want you to really understand here is that building your own website takes significantly more time. It really takes significantly more time. So the question is, are you willing to spend money, or are you willing to actually spend your time? No-code web development software uses pre-built code templates of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It is the job of an end user to organize and implement the different objects and templates to form the website, right? However, the time factor becomes significant when factoring in the time taken to shop around and finding the perfect web development system, and the time for tweaking the pre-built templates, okay, along with the time that is needed to learn and master the techniques and tools that the no-code development software requires. And the thing is that you need to understand, outsourcing the development work to an experienced web developer takes the headaches out of finding, implementing, tweaking, configuring, customizing, and maintaining a codeless website. But the thing is, you're going to have to actually pay for it. So one thing you need to understand here is that if you want to actually have a no-code self-build website, the project becomes your responsibility. So as opposed to using an outsourced specialist who codes, maintains, tweaks, and secures your website, the DIY codeless website development system becomes the complete responsibility of the end user. And this is you. And such an end user most likely is not a specialist when it comes to code development, security, and maintenance. The question is, do you have time to do it? Do you have time right now to do it? If not, then you're going to have to outsource it no matter what. You know, it's very important to really understand that, because the thing is that when we talk about website development or website design, this is not just the design of the sites, it's also the maintenance, because once the site is designed, it needs to be maintained. There are certain security features that always need to be maintained, and this is in some cases can be a full-time job depending on the size of the website. So those are elements you really need to think about. So building your own website takes significantly more time. The next thing you need to really think about here is that page builders have very set parameters and designs compared to custom sites. And it's really important to understand that, designs may be repeated across the internet thousands of times. And pre-built template packages typically have several design categories to choose from, with each composed of only a few designs. With thousands of users using a small number of popular development systems and a good number of those users having overlapping niches, it is only natural that one particular design may be used by hundreds of users across the internet. And we have seen that in our research in the last few years. We've seen this sort of preponderance of themes, of configurations. It's really important to understand that a templated builder may not let you change as many little details. So if we take, for instance, a templated builder such as Wix or GoDaddy or Weebly, they will give you flexibility up to a certain point. But past a certain point, they will say, listen, either you just code yourself or you just let the template as it is, unless you are on a higher tier plan. So if you are on a high paid plan, then everything is fine. But if you are going to be like a mid-size sort of a mid-tier buyer, and you're asking for many configuration or many changes to the basic code, they're not going to allow that, because anytime you ask them to change the things in the API or even the robots.txt files, things become a little complicated. Unless, again, you know what you're talking about, which you like. If you do know what you're talking about, you're not going to go through a custom website. You are going to do things yourself because you have a clear idea of what you need to do. But the bottom line is what? The bottom line here is that you need to compose with what page builder are asking for, because again, if you are going to go through a page builder that has a drag and drop builder, you just want to conform to comply with the set. Usually they have templates, or they have you can start from a blank canvas and you can drag and build. You can drag and drop. It's either or. Either the templates, or you just drag and drop from a clean canvas. either way, make sure that you actually talk before you start anything. If you want to have a fully customized website, instead of going and you don't want to use WordPress, if you do not use WordPress, then you need to actually conform yourself to the parameters that they have set. And then you need to maybe talk to folks at Weebly or folks at Wix or folks at GoDaddy or Squarespace a lot of times before you reach a solution. Boss, I want to quickly remind you of today's topic. We are having a conversation about custom websites versus no-code self-built website. What are the things you need to know about? One thing you need to really know is that no-code websites may give your SEO less control over certain areas. And this is something we have seen time and again. The thing here is that search engine optimization is one of the most important methods of bringing traffic, especially organic traffic, to your website via inbound marketing. While manually coding a website gives a developer complete control of how SEO methodologies are implemented, the use of no-code website development systems greatly limits such SEO strategies. And these strategies included altering robots.txt files, submitting sitemaps, adding specific tags for analytics, utilizing meta tags, writing rich snippets, adding scheme, in other words, structured data and microdata, and more, all of which, in our view, assist the presentation of a website in SERPs. Okay. The thing here is that you need to understand, I'm not saying here that our team has done research about this, and we're not saying here that this means that you cannot rank in Google. It just means that you have to do more work. While manually perfecting a website's SEO strategies via its source code is the best way to assist search engines like Google, for instance, and Bing in ranking and presenting a website, going the no-code route does not disqualify a website from Google's search engine system. However, while some no-code web development platforms allow one to manually add code or perfect SEO strategies, or even add SEO strategies without code, only full access to and editing of the source code can yield a complete and robust SEO methodology system. And this is one thing that only those drag and drop builders in their they have this sort of SEO strategy embedded in the source code when they actually present it to clients. So, but if you have to do it yourself, then it becomes a little complicated. It's not impossible, but it becomes a little complicated. So you might need to work a little more to actually reach the same level of optimum when as opposed to those drag and drop builders. You need to understand is that due to the decreased options, many SEOs don't want to work with no-code sites anymore. Okay, so this is something you need to really pay attention to in terms of how you optimize your search strategy and how you position your website in the long run. Because if Google and Bing and Yahoo and Yandex and other players cannot really crawl your websites to start with, you're not going to rank on the SERPs. Another thing I want to talk about here is that the speed of a no-code needed site may be significantly lower. You need to understand here is that websites are essentially giant blocks of code that get fed to a browser, right? And so basically, if you actually write like a self-built website, if you have a self-built website and you actually have giant blocks of code, and if those blocks are too giant, this means that basically this is going to slow down the browser, and basically you are going to have a site that's very slow. And we all know the importance of page load speed on your SEO ranking. And if Google realizes that, your site is taking longer to load, or you have a high bounce rate because visitors have no time, they can't wait 5 seconds for your website to load, this is going to be very negatively affecting your SERP results. Okay. You're not going to be on the first page of Google. You may not even be on the second page of Google. The question here is that how do you actually fix that? Well, the thing is that there are elements within CSS, HTML, and JavaScript that allow you to write giant blocks of code, but they're not really that heavy, quote unquote heavy. You remember that the browser needs to read the code and then generate the web page. And if your code is too heavy, or if your code is a little convoluted, then that means that the web page will take longer to be generated. Okay, that's why what we have seen in our research in the last few years is that tools that build sites that don't need users to enter code end up using a great deal more code than if they were custom built. Okay, it's because for instance, pre-built templates include a variety of parameters that may not be needed by most end users. For this reason, pre-built websites rather, require a large amount of code that will never be used or is seldom used. This is why such websites take longer to load, since all HTML code is parsed by a browser in a given viewing. This is really good. So if you contrast this, each page of a custom website will only contain code that is actually needed to fulfill a particular requirement. And web development follows a comprehensive design phase where all requirements are mapped out and code is later input to fulfill those particular needs. This, of course, is not done with pre-built websites. So the more code on the sites, the clunkier it is for a browser to load. So just keep that in mind. Another thing I need to say here is that self-built sites may have less available integrations simply because, when you think about those website builders, they actually have a larger market. For instance, if you have a Wix app market, you have hundreds of integrations. If you are a Shopify website builder, you have thousands of integrations. But if you were to do things yourself, if you were to build a website yourself, you're going to have to add through APIs all those available integrations, or you have to go through Zapier to add those integrations. So this is something where you are able to you're able to see exactly what's really happening. Integrating websites with third-party systems can be done by utilizing APIs, of course. This can add functionality, security, and other features to a website. Now, such third-party systems may include platforms, frameworks, applications, or libraries. No-code sites do not typically allow for a wide array of third-party integrations due to the rigid, self-built nature here. It's really important to understand that making a custom site connect with other programs is simple and straightforward. Okay, so using APIs with custom websites can be built into the code from its foundation, making it a short and simple process. This gives custom website, really, in our view, a large advantage over pre-built websites. Custom websites can also integrate security into the code to minimize the harm that a hacker can do, which is potentially much greater with pre-built websites that do not offer templates that were built with secure code. And the thing that we want to say here is that making a self-built site integrate, it requires the site builders to have built the integration already. This is one of the things that really you need to think about, because as a pre-packaged deal, a self-built website's templates must be built with all integrations already there. This is because the templates have rigid parameters that are not editable. Unlike custom code that can be customized, pre-built websites are not made with customization or functionality in mind, but only with convenience in mind, because the users usually are not code savvy, right? So thus, adding third-party integration to a pre-built website is only possible if the website builders already added that integration in the building process. Thank you so much for your attention, boss. I really appreciate it. In today's conversation, I spoke to you about custom website versus no-code self-build website. What are the pros and cons? What are the things you need to really know here? So I gave you the overview, and then I explained to you in the approach. So the conclusion here is that the largest difference will always be financial costs. Of basically building your own website takes significantly more time if you have the acumen to actually follow through. Page builders have actually very set parameters and designs compared to custom sites. No-code websites may give your SEO less control over certain areas, and the speed of a no-code needed site may be significantly lower. And also, the last thing I want to say here is that self-built sites may have less available integrations. Thank you so much for your attention. Really appreciate it. God bless you. I'll see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.